For years, I've been taking care of this little boy. He wants to go out into the world and do great big things.
Not bad, kid.
And what I worry about most
I love you, Miles.
is they won't look out for you like us.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We finally got the sequel. Finally. Okay. So, this is a direct sequel off of the previous movie, which was Into the Spider-Verse, which I'm glad I saw in theaters because that movie was amazing. And when they said that they were going to do a part 2, but then also a part 3, I was immediately excited. I got more excited. So then we have 2, and then they're currently working on the 3rd. But right now, we have Across the Spider-Verse. So this one takes place a little bit after the events of the last movie. And it's about, Miles is basically trying to find that balance between being Spider-Man and being Miles Morales. Like, he wants to go to like the best school that he can find, and then also trying to juggle the fact that him being Spider-Man, one, doesn't pay the bills, but the city does need a Spider-Man. So he's trying to find that balance, and I think the movie does a really good job at doing that. It reminded me very much of what Insomniac did with their version of Spider-Man, where he was trying to say I'm trying to do a juggling act. So this very much does it. It keeps it very grounded. It keeps it very real. Whereas you're this greatest hero, but then that greatest hero has a mask. There's a person underneath that mask, and that person has their own issues. They have their own problems. They have their own bills to pay. So I like how it acknowledges that. It does a very, very great job at doing that. But this time we're now dealing with there's actually a multitude of Spider-Man out there, or as they call it, the Spider-Verse, which they say is stupid, but what they actually call it sounds stupid as well. So Spider-Verse sounds cool. So Gwen shows up because she has spider powers, but she's in a different timeline. She's a different universe. She comes to visit Miles, but throughout the course of the movie, they end up going to basically the hub of every single person who has been bitten by a radioactive spider. And it basically acknowledges every single form of media, from film to comics to even video games, no matter what they're from, and sometimes even live action. And those parts actually cracked me up. And this much like Into it, this is one of the movies that I laughed a lot, and I don't remember laughing that much in a movie in a while. So it already got points for that. And another thing that I was really worried about going into this was, man, Into the Spider-Verse did an incredible job at not just the story, but then everything around it. How are they gonna do this? Like, how are they gonna top that? Because sequels, they always want to be a notch higher than the previous one. They basically just pat us down, sat us down, gave us an apple juice, and said, "Don't worry," or basically they did a hold my beer, and they were right. I immediately was just I was 5 minutes in, I was already into it. Usually it takes a little bit to get into something, but with this, it was just like, all right, I'm in. Like, I'm already in it. And I love, one thing I really loved about the first movie was that it was like each person was a different art style. Yes, they were a different character, but they had a different like art style to them. And I loved that. And they continued to do that. That was basically kind of like a handful. This is like a busful of different art styles. And it's crazy on how much they were able to do it. And man, I've said it all the time. I love my 2D animation. I love animation. But with this, they made a lot of it look almost two-dimensional, almost like you're basically watching a basically like moving comic book. And they just nailed it. They nailed it so well. And it's just, the movie is just, it's a fantastic movie by itself, but it just, if you're an artist or if you're someone who adores art, watch this movie. You'll be looking at all the different art styles and definitely pausing through the movie, trying to figure out like how they did this art style or like what art styles did I miss. And so it's impressive. Another thing about the movie that I loved was it had a whole bunch of like twists and turns that I didn't see coming. And yeah, especially like in the third act. I was not expecting the third act to go the way they did. And it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like what they're doing here. And they definitely, they say, yeah, okay, we have this, but actually let's mix it up. And, the movie does end on not necessarily a cliffhanger, but kind of. So it gives you, so it's like, it gives you just enough, and then it then goes like, okay, we're doing a third movie. Like, and they said that the third movie will be the last one. So it's going to be a trilogy. So it's all right. But I wish I got to see this in theaters. I watched this extremely late. And like, if you watched my, my best and worst video for 2023, I watched this like a couple of days before I put that list together. So I'm glad that I was able to watch it during 2023. I'm still kicking myself for the fact that I couldn't or didn't see it in the theater, because man, I would have loved to see this on the big screen, especially since I saw Into in theaters, and it was just like, wow, this is just amazing. Now, there is a whole lot of like flashing and like quick cuts where it's like the colors are like keep changing, so there is a little bit of epilepsy warning to this, but it's just the way they did it. I love how it was almost like each scene they threw in something in there to make it feel like a comic book. And that's what I loved about the first movie, was that they said, okay, we're going to take this story, we're going to, make it a dimensional movie, but each person or each character has their own specific art style. And then with this, it's like everyone does, and it's like, whoa, did you guys like almost die? Did you guys almost kill yourself because all these different characters, like everybody can be in the background, like tons of them are in the background, and you're just constantly just like moving your eyes trying to look and see like how they look. And I love the way that they were able to tie, every single piece of Spider-Man mythology or Spider-Man in the media. Like I said, from movies to comics to video games. They were able to put that all together and actually make it make sense. Like, they didn't just throw it in just to go like, we're just throwing it in here just because, we think it'll be funny, or it, audiences will like point their finger and say, hey, look at that. It actually makes sense with the story. It flows with the story. And it was just so great. It was a rapid fire movie where it was constantly like things were constantly happening, and it was a keep firing and firing and firing movie. And to me, it all stuck. It all stuck like a web. And I really enjoyed the movie. And if you saw my best and worst of the year video, this was, I believe, number 4 or 5. I believe 4. And you're gonna be like, really? Why is this not number 1? And it's just my personal list. But personally, to me, this movie just was basically hold my beer to the first movie, and I believe it does get an amazing. And I'm not just saying that because it's Spider-Man related or it's a Spider-Man pun, but because it's just, they just nailed it. They just absolutely nailed it. Like every single scene was just great. And the fact that there was a whole bunch of twists and turns, like especially the twist at the very end of the movie was like, oh, well, that sucks. And it left you guessing more and it let you want more. And I'm glad they're doing a third movie, and yeah, I'm really excited for that. So I'm a little bit worried, but I'm optimistic, so we'll see what they do. But I'm still very, very excited to see the next movie.
You gotta promise, Miles.
I promise.
Who do you think you are? Really?
We are supposed to be the good guys.
We are.